So with Wrestle Kingdom, basically about, I guess if you consider the time zone differences, about a day and a half away, 48 hours basically. I think a lot of us, whether or not we will be able to watch it, have to pay attention to it. Because to me, in my personal opinion, this will be a very significant event. Not just by all the promotions being represented, even for one night, but also the fact that, well, one of those promotions is going to be keeping a close eye on a lot of the talent involved. And that one promotion, of course, is WWE. Now, true, Tony Khan and AEW will be paying close attention. Excuse me, there it's early. I do apologize. It's 8:20 a.m. on this New Year's Day 2, if you will, part 2, the Observance Day. But like I said, I do realize Tony Khan will also be watching along with Triple H, for AEW and Triple H for WWE. But why do I say this is more significant when it comes to the likes of Triple H? Well, because if Dragon Lee being signed to a contract and announcing said contract after he won the AAA World Tag Team titles with his brother Jalisco, from FTR, at the Night of Champions AAA event. And basically a lot of people saying within the company and outside of the company that this is just the beginning of all these big time significant signings that Triple H wants to make in 2023, and that he is basically going to be full throttle, very aggressive in doing so. Then to me, this year, Wrestle Kingdom, some of the participants are ones that Triple H is going to be keeping an eye on in a huge way. Because if he wants to rebuild, he and Shawn Michaels want to rebuild NXT into what it was before, and also kind of set the standard for what the future will hold entirely for WWE on the main roster, then there's no doubt he's going to be watching some of these matches. For example, one of the significant matches I think he's going to be watching, in my opinion, is basically the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title match. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that there are three competitors in this match that he would love to bring back to WWE, or at least bring two of them back to WWE, and then bring the other one in for the first time. That is, of course, Lio Rush, who's part of Lee Yao, along with Yao, that's Y-O-H, and the tag team known as Catch 2/2, if you will, and that being TJP and Francisco Akira. He's going to want to keep an eye on them. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. He's going to want to keep an eye on that match because, he's the one that brought in TJP originally, remember? So there's no doubt he wants TJP back, despite any controversy because of certain tattoos and stuff that he has on, or he got himself. Francisco Akira, I don't know much about him, but apparently he's a very talented wrestler, and he's known as Francisco. Real name is Francisco Bingen, which is probably be the name Triple H will let him go by if he gets him. And Lio Rush, another talent that obviously Triple H would like to bring back, so he's going to have his eye on that one. The other match he's going to have an eye on is Kairi's match with Tama Nakarano. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name, for the IWGP Women's title. Some are predicting Tam Nakano to win. Some are predicting Kairi so that we get Mercedes and Kairi. But we'll have to see. But there's no doubt in my mind he's keeping an eye on that match. And the reason he's keeping an eye on that match is because rumor has it that Kairi's going to be in the Rumble match, the Women's Rumble match later this month, with the potentiality that Mercedes Sasha too will be part of that, as probably her last WWE appearance, or maybe the beginning of something new. We don't know. But there is no doubt in my mind he's going to keep an eye on that match to try to re-sign Kairi to a contract, maybe a certain Pacific contract, that we kind of see with Dragon Lee, because when you look at Dragon Lee's contract status, from what we understand, while he's in NXT, he's still able to compete for AAA. So you have to think to yourself, if maybe giving Dragon Lee the contract he got that allows him to do those kind of things, from what it sounds like, is that a testing ground to see if maybe they can transition that to certain main roster talent they want to bring in or bring back to the company later on, like a Kyrie, like a Mercedes. You never know. So yeah, there's no doubt he's going to keep an eye on that, not just for Kyrie, but for Tam Nakano as well, or Yuri Tahachi, if you will. Yuri Tahachi, or Tam Nakano, basically. He's going to keep his eye on that, because that's another potential name he could sign. Another match I know he's going to keep his eye on is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ren Narita, or Narita, if you were Ren Narita. Zack Sabre Jr., of course, brought in by Triple H, went all the way to nearly the finals, if you will, for the Cruiserweight Championship. And now the question is, will Triple H be aggressive in trying to sign him to a contract? Yes, he is, from what we understand. I think he is he the Rev Pro champion? I'm not really sure. I don't think he's Rev Pro champion right now, is he? I don't think he's Rev Pro champion. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, trying to see here. Yeah, he was Rev Pro champion. I think he was champion at the time, but it's not anymore. But anyway, you can't tell me that Triple H is not going to want to pursue Sabre Jr. Yeah, 7 years ago, if you want to look at it now, he didn't want to agree to a contract with WWE. Now, I can understand maybe, certain reasons why he didn't want to do so, but it's almost been a decade. Well, almost 3 years away from a decade, if you will, of that tournament happening, that moment happening. So to me, I think enough time has passed that Triple H will once again want to pursue Zack Sabre Jr. and try to bring him in, but also maybe give him a schedule and give him a contract that that he'll excuse me there. Like I said, it's early. That he'll be more acceptive of. That's just my opinion. Another match I think we're gonna have to keep an eye on with, if you will, is Carl Anderson Tama Tonga. Now we know Carl Anderson's, with WWE now, and part of the agreement is to let him compete in New Japan to possibly drop the title to Tama Tonga tonight. But you can't tell me that Triple H isn't looking at Tama Tonga and saying, I want that guy too. So to me, it's not just Carl Anderson he's keeping an eye on, because he already has him lock and key, if you will, within the company, along with Luke Gallows. But I think he's looking at Tama Tonga, is who he's going to look at. This is a match he's going to keep an eye on for Tama Tonga, because that's somebody he would love to bring into the company and make part of WWE before AEW can come in and swoop up the Gorillas of Destiny. So I think he's going to keep an eye on that match because of Tama Tonga, and by association, I think, Tonga Leo. Tonga Leo, if you will. So there's no doubt he's going to keep an eye on both of them, if you will, because Tonga Leo, I think, he was part of WWE back in 2014. For 3 years he was on the main roster as Camacho with Hunico, the second Linkara. Not Linkara, but Sin Cara, the second Sin Cara, if you will. So to me, he also competed in TNA Impact as Mika, and then he went to New Japan as Tonga Leo. So, You can't tell me, again, like I said, that, he's not going to keep an eye on that match because of Tama Tonga and not just Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson, like I said, he already has under lock and key. Tama Tonga is another one he wants. You can't tell me he doesn't. And Tonga Leo by association. So, to me, this will be a match he's going to keep an eye on going forward. And also, you got to look at the fact that you could have the involvement of Hikuleo. So, for Triple H, the Never Openweight Championship is a big one because it gives him an idea of, okay, this person I want, and by association I want to bring this guy back because that's his, brother or cousin, whatever. And then this big man, definitely. So, you're going to see Triple H really, or in my opinion, really keeping an eye on this, along with the other ones. Then, we have the IWGP United States Championship. And whether you like it or not, Triple H is keeping an eye on this one. He is. Because he's going to look at Will Ospreay. Not Kenny Omega. Will Ospreay. That's what he's going to look at. He's going to look at Ospreay, and he is going to want to get to Ospreay. He is. And there's no doubt Tony Khan's going to keep an eye on this match as well. But by elimination, I think the most aggressive, because if Triple H is going to be that aggressive this year and bringing in big time talent, and Dragon Lee's the first, then someone like a Will Ospreay, you can't tell me he will not be aggressive to get him, because he will. He's going to, basically Triple H's goal this year is to prove everything that people have said about, being asked the question of would you go to WWE, and them saying, oh, I'm never going to do that, I'll decline it. Triple H this year is going to be so aggressive, in my opinion, that he's going to do whatever it takes to change their minds. And Ospreay's one of those people he's going to get to change, or at least try to change the mind of. Along with two other people. And those are the guys headlining Wrestle Kingdom. That's Jay White and Kazuchika Okada. Kazuchika Okada, if you will. Jay White and Okada. Because you can't tell me that, he's not seen what Jay White's done in Impact or what Jay White's done in AEW. Knowing that Jay White is not under contract to either one of those companies, but he is under contract to New Japan, but for who knows how long. And you can't tell me he's looking at someone like Okada to try to bring in. And to me, those two, just like Ospreay, just like Sabre Jr., just like the Gorillas of Destiny and Hikuleo, just like Catch-22, TJP, and Francisco Akira and Leo Rush, and Kyrie and Tom Nakano. You can't tell me. You cannot tell me that he is not going to look at each and every one of those matches, and mostly the main event, and start jotting down notes of how he can aggressively get these guys to sign with WWE, to bring them over, to be part of the number one wrestling company, sports entertainment company in the land. You cannot tell me he is not going to be eyes glued, if you will, eyes glued on this event, just for those matches. Just for those matches and those specific people. Like I said, Catch 22 or Catch 2/2, if you will. TJP and Francisco, and then Leo Rush by association. Yeah.
Is he here?
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah.
All right.
Go back to me. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Just give it time. I do apologize. Anyway, like I was saying before I was interrupted, like I said, he's going to keep his eyes glued on each of these matches. Like I said, Catch 2.5, or not 2.5, but 2/2. TJP and Francisco Akira and Leo Rush by association. Kyrie and Tom Nakano. Zack Sabre Jr. Tama Tonga and by association, Tonga Leo and, Hikuleo, the Gorillas of Destiny. The other one, Will Ospreay, and then of course the main event, Jay White and Okada. You cannot tell me he's not going to keep an eye on each and every one of these matches for those specific people, and basically, like I was saying before I get interrupted, jot down notes of how he can approach them in an aggressive but respectful manner to try to bring them over. You cannot tell me he's not keeping an eye on that, because he is. Because these are guys, in my opinion, that he'll want to bring in for the first time, bring back to the company for a second run or third run, and say, let's roll with you the way you should have been rolled with. Or let's give you the opportunity we know you've earned throughout your career. That to me is what Triple H is going to try to do. And you might say, pulling at straws here. I'm being wild cardness about this. I'm over exaggerating. Look, if reports about Triple H, coming from within the company, about him being more aggressive about signing top talent, indie talent, international talent to contracts this year, if you do not think there's any truth to that, especially if it's coming from within the company, you're dead wrong. And if you do not think he will not be that way to try to make not only NXT, but by association Raw and SmackDown the best products in wrestling, sports entertainment people will see and talk about in 2023, you out of your mind. Because that's exactly what he's going to do. And these matches, these talents in these matches that I just mentioned, are going to be one of the main reasons. They're going to be one of the main reasons, in my opinion. And I will not be surprised, honest to God, I will not be surprised, honest to God, okay, if we do not see announcements throughout the year. I will not be surprised of Kairi Sane coming back, Tam Nakano signing for the first time, okay, of Zack Sabre Jr. finally coming to terms with WWE on a contract, a special kind of contract. The same with Will Ospreay. I would not be surprised if, he said, if the announcement comes out that Catch 2/2, TJP and Francisco Akira have been signed to contracts, that Leo Rush is coming back. I'm not going to put it past Triple H to do what he can to make those announcements happen, or those, rumors to start becoming more reality as time goes on. And to me, it all begins with Wrestle Kingdom 17, Night 1, and then later on Night 2 on January 21st. Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 in 2 days, January 4th, and Night 2 on January 21st. That's where it all starts, but mostly it will start with Night 1 on January 1st. And that's just my opinion. Now, like I said, you might think I'm pulling at strings, I might be wishful thinking, but this isn't, we got to remember, this is not a Vince McMahon run company anymore. And despite how much Vince will try to get back in, no matter, whether or not it causes the company internal anguish and everything, this isn't, despite how much he wants to try to, consider that as a possibility, things are different now. Things are different. Things are being run differently and run in a way that people within the company, office-wise, are more happy with. Stockholders, shareholders are more happy with. And to me, you make them more happy, you being someone like Triple H, signing talent like this to help boost your roster in NXT, to help boost your roster on Raw and SmackDown, that's just the beginning. To help boost your women's roster, that's just the beginning. That is just the beginning. And everybody watching this knows that for a fact. They know that. So again, I totally expect that throughout this year, starting with this event, this being the catalyst, this being the foundation, I expect Triple H to start going after the talents I've mentioned. Catch 2/2, TJP and Francisco Akira and Leo Rush. Kairi Sane, Tam Nakano, Zack Sabre Jr., Tama Tonga, Tongaleo, and Hikuleo, the Guerrillas of Destiny. I I expect him to go after Will Ospreay. I expect him to go after Jay White, and even by association Okada. I expect all of this to happen. And if you do not think it won't, because Okada said he would never leave Eve or anything, or what Will Ospreay said, Zack Sabre Jr. said, again, Triple H is going to take down notes and figure out a way aggressively but respectfully to try to approach them and get them to come over by offering them a contract that they will be happy with. So don't underestimate Triple H keeping, having an eye on this event and certain talents that I've mentioned, because he's going to go after those talents to booster the overall WWE roster in 2023 going into 2024. And Dragon Lee, with his special contract status, that's just the beginning. Because if he gave Dragon Lee that kind of a contract status, who knows maybe what he gave Mercedes Varado, aka Sasha Banks. Who knows what he gave her to try to keep her to stay if she did. She's still eternally listed on the roster. Which is saying, something, I should say, and everything. So we'll have to see. But to me, along with Tony Khan and AEW, but more so than them, Triple H is keeping an eye on this event. And he is. He is because of the talent I've mentioned. But let me know what your thoughts are. Who do you think Triple H will go after first, respectfully and aggressively, to start out 2023, with Dragon Lee being the foundation of a rebuilding process? When it comes to bringing in indie talent from all over, who do you think he'll go after first? And out of all these people, from TJP, Francisco Akira, and Leo Rush, Kairi Sane, Tam Nakado, Zack Sabre Jr., Tamatanga, Tangaleo, and Hikuleo, Will Ospreay, Jay White, Okada, who do you think he will try to pursue next out of this event? Because again, he's going to keep an eye on it. And he's going to keep an eye for those talents. Who do you think it's going to be? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, and I will talk to y'all later.